But I also just gave myself the flexibility of that I'm sick and I'm going to perform at a certain level, and that has to be okay. And that has held me back from promotions, from other things. And I just had to accept that that's where I'm at right now. That doesn't mean where I'll be in the future.
Welcome to the Sick is Cool podcast, the show that's here to empower you, inspire you, and remind you that even in the face of chronic illness, you can lead an extraordinary life. I'm your host, Aimee Esther, and I'm thrilled to have you join our community. I understand the daily struggles, the physical and emotional roller coasters, and the relentless search for purpose and joy amidst it all. Although none of us chose to be a part of the Sick Club, here we are, warriors navigating a world that often doesn't understand us. Together, we are going to build a vibrant and supportive community that celebrates resilience and courage of the chronically ill. Now let's dive into today's episode and start reshaping our perspective on chronic illness. I'm excited to get to know you. This is Allison. Will you share about your chronic illnesses, your life, anything we want to know about you?
Sure. Yeah. So I live in Washington State. I've been chronically ill for about 8 years. It felt like the lights went out overnight. The weirdest thing, I went to work and then I felt like I was getting sick, came home, and was never the same. I went to many doctors. It took a long time to find someone that believed me. And I'm still on that journey. It's like an onion. You continue to peel back and you're discovering new things, illnesses under those illnesses. So it's a continual journey. And I try to just remind myself that it's a journey. I don't know what normal is. I will always have my, own definition of normal.
So tricky because it feels like you're always like learning new things. You fix one thing and it hurts another. You fix one thing and something else pops up, and it's definitely hard to balance all of that. And what illnesses do you have?
Yeah. So I have Epstein-Barr virus, I have EPV that continues to reactivate. That's kind of the continual. We believe that was triggered from mold, celiac, thyroid. So it's and then it's possibly Lyme now, which I'm being tested for. So it's a continued journey where we're continuing to like unravel pieces. And then I have other, autoimmune stuff. So it's a continual process.
Yeah, for sure. And I think when something goes wrong in our body, at least this was my experience, something went wrong and then it just spiraled into all these other problems. Because one thing's not working right, then it messes something else up. But you are still able to work, right?
I am.
And what do you do and how are you able to work with your illnesses?
Yeah, so I'm a program manager. I was really lucky when I got sick. I had a really supportive boss. And I don't think most people have that. He probably doesn't know how sick I really was. He knew I was just sick and couldn't get out of bed. And he gave me opportunities to work from home when I wanted to, which would not have worked otherwise for me. I probably would be unemployed. And my doctor to this day wants me to take a sabbatical to give my body a break and to get out of the fight or flight mode because I'm constantly in that. So working is always going to be a challenge, I think, for anybody, including myself.
Let's take a minute to talk about the sponsor of this episode, Southern New Hampshire University. SNHU is one of the largest accredited nonprofit online degree offerings in the country. SNHU has so many amazing online programs to help you gain the experience you need to find the career of your dreams. Although there are many amazing online programs at SNHU, the one I want to share with you today is Healthcare Admin. This program was developed to align with the curriculum principles established by the Association of University Programs in Health Administration. Gain the knowledge and skills to develop your career in leading healthcare organizations such as hospitals, physician offices, care facilities, and more. You'll learn how to plan, direct, and coordinate health services and work closely with medical staff to positively impact patient care. Develop strong stakeholder communication tactics and operational strategies. Learn database decision-making and how to develop and maintain ethical policies and regulations and positive company culture. SNHU is radically affordable. Their online tuition rates are some of the lowest in the nation. Just head to snhu.edu/Aimee, that's AIMEE, to see what the current average salary for this program is and request free information about the program. When you request this information, a real person will hop on a call and discuss how the program can benefit you personally. It only takes one click to find your calling. Thanks again to SNHU for sponsoring this episode. Now let's get back to the podcast. Tell me why you choose to work with your illnesses?
I was a single mom for a long time, so just me. I think for me, it was really frustrating. I felt like I was able to operate at a certain level and then lost that. And I wanted to get it back. So I've just been kind of clawing my way to get back to where I want to be, right? I didn't feel like I ever had an other option. Like, and you're super fortunate if you do, but I didn't have like a husband to like take on the financial burden. It was just me with a kid.
How did you know what was the best job for you as someone who's sick?
So I've been in my current job for over 18 years. So I'll just start by saying that. So and partially I stayed because it was comfortable, right? And I knew it, and I knew people, and I had a reputation before I was sick, right? And so people had a, expectation of me and knew that even if I wasn't my 100%, that I had a different level of performing. And so, no, I didn't really look outside. I probably, should have in hindsight considered other options that maybe would have been better. But I just, I was able to financially support myself in that job. And so I just kept moving.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you have to, right? Like,
yeah,
you have to keep going, because people always ask me, like, how do you have young kids and babies? Like, I just do it. Like, I wake up and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this today, but then I do it.
You do a little more every day.
Yeah.
You try to. Yeah, I don't know how you have multiple kids. I have one, and I've watched your videos, obviously, and I it's exhausting with one. So I have no idea with multiple and how to get out of bed, because there's days you can't get out of bed. Like, I just, I have chronic fatigue, and it's so exhausting. And everybody in your hurts. Everything is sore, and you're just mentally tired. It's not even like it's such a different thing. It's not like you can just go to sleep. You're just exhausted.
Right.
And I know, but if you don't have it, you have no concept.
Yeah. And you can't get breaks from it, right? Like, you can get breaks from your job. I could even get breaks from the kids. I can leave for a minute, but you bring the illness everywhere you go, which is hard. You bring it to work with you. You take it to bed with you. You take it everywhere, right? Oh, yeah. How do you manage the stress of working while sick? Because at least for me, like, when I'm extra stressed and anxious and things like that, my physical health usually gets worse, because I don't know, my brain and my body are connected and I just feel worse. So how do you manage the stress and work and illness and all of that together?
Yeah, that's hard. The struggle is real. I mean, it's a continual struggle. I've had horrible bosses that didn't give me flexibility. I've had places where I couldn't work at times. I think really the biggest thing I found is not to bottle it up. Talk about it. Talk to friends and family. Be open, on where you're at. I think I, thought I had to hold all the balls myself. And I think once I started, relying on others, and having places to vent things, this is, I have a life coach. I've gone out and gotten different kinds of medicine and ways to help me. Has, made tremendous difference. Find places to vent.
Yeah, I think that's so important. Like, I just can't function without having those like mental health like, we have our physical health tools, we need our mental health tools. And I think that is so important. And that's why I got into what I do for my job, which is life coaching. Like, I got into that because I feel like I couldn't survive without a life coach, without having someone to talk to, having someone to be on the outside of the situation and help me work through my thoughts and my feelings and everything. And so I just think it's so important for us to have that, whether it's a friend or a family member or a coach or a therapist or anything. Like, journaling and stuff is great, but when you have someone to actually talk to, whether they understand the illness or not, like, it helps so much. So that's great advice.
Having a life coach that's not a family member, so you don't feel like you're constantly, as you know, when you're chronically ill, you feel like you're constantly dumping on your family. Like, I don't feel good. And you constantly continue to feel like you're just a broken record, so to speak. And so it's nice to have another place to be able to also dump, stuff on that's not your family. And so it gives them a break from it. And I think that helps the relationships as well at times.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because they're living it with you. Like, they're already seeing it. It's affecting them. It's like they need their own therapist and coach and people to talk to, and they're great and we love them. But also, yeah, it's a lot to add.
Yeah.
And I do think it's important, like, also so that they're on the outside, they can see things that we can't see, right? Because they're not there with us. And even though someone, maybe family member, is helpful in some ways, I think we need someone on the outside too. It definitely helps. So you work full time, right?
I do.
And so how do you balance like doctor's appointments if you need like surgery or treatments or taking days off if you're feeling ill? How do you balance that? And
it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, my days off become doctor appointment days. You know, what is a vacation, right? You try to pack it all in. It's definitely challenging. I think once I was able to work from home, that gave me flexibility to like take a, early morning appointment, and nobody would kind of realize I took an 8 o'clock appointment and I'd be online by 9. But when you're going to an office, you're commuting into that added a layer for me. It's challenging. I try to remind myself like, we just keep moving forward and try to balance as much as I can when I have doctor appointments.
Yeah, I think that's the most difficult part. When I first got sick, I was teaching school. I wouldn't even take like sick days because I would be at a doctor's appointment. I couldn't even take those days. So do you just work through if you're having a really symptomatic day? Do you work slower? How do you manage that?
I work slower and I try to take breaks. I try to give myself the flexibility to take a nap. That's what I feel like I need to do. I mean, unfortunately, I can never actually sleep, but it's the laying down part for your mind that gives it a break. And then maybe working on other days on the back end, like I'll pick up a little bit on Sunday and try to like catch up a little bit. But I also just gave myself flexibility of that I'm sick and I'm going to perform at a certain level, and that has to be okay. And that has held me back from promotions, from other things. And I just had to accept that that's where I'm at right now. That doesn't mean where I'll be in the future.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard to balance your physical and mental and work and all of the things. Have you ever wanted to give up? Have you ever, like what do you do to keep you going on those hard days?
Who hasn't wanted to give up? But, I mean, it was especially, frustrating in early days when I felt like no doctor believed me that I was sick. And like I said, I felt like the lights went out overnight, being an ADD adult and not being able to get out of bed is weird, right? So I think having support, is amazing. Having a good doctor and a team around you that listens truly, I think really is what saved me. Like I tell my doctor all the time, he saved my life. Like if he hadn't like recognized some specific things and did specific tests, I don't know where I would be. And then of course, family and friends.
How do you rely on other people, whether your boss, your doctors, your family and friends for help? What do you have them do for you?
That's hard because I want to do it all myself, but
Same.
I try to. That's my biggest challenge. And everyone's like, just tell me how I can help. I'm like, I don't know how you can help. That's a constant struggle. A lot of times it's just being there and listening. I think feeling like you have someone that listens truly is like almost the biggest medicine at times, because when you go for so long and no one listens and believes you that you're sick, it's just, it's so frustrating. That was where I wanted to give up. That was my lowest days. And I'd be lying if I didn't, think about things at that time. But being a single mom and having a kid that depended on me, I didn't have an option to give up. Like you said, you get up every day and get out of bed and you just keep moving forward because you have to. There wasn't an option. Like I wasn't going to not be there for her. So
right, like the amount of times that go through my head of I can't do this. This is too much for me. Like I don't want to do this anymore, or just things like my kid needs me and I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And then I keep doing it. Like I have to remind myself is like, even though it's hard, like I keep showing up for the things that are important. Right. And taking care of your family and your child is important. And keeping your job is important to you. You're going to do it. We might need to adapt. We might need extra help, which is difficult to ask for.
So hard.
But we are going to keep going, right? So do you ask your boss for help ever? Do you talk to employees?
So it's funny. The boss that was really there for me really didn't know how sick I really was. But I, was a manager, I had people under me. I was really open with them. I'm going to have days where I'm sick, so to speak. And like, I need, to call out and like, just please don't think I don't care. I absolutely do. And I do try to explain to my bosses as well. It's like, hey, please don't think if I'm not showing up, it's that I don't care, is that I have a health concern going on. And I've never really shared it, exactly what's going on. Just because it's hard to explain and you don't want to not be believed as well. So you're just really cautious of how much you share. So I've just shared, I have health stuff going on and like, I'm trying, please know that. And if you feel like I'm not showing up and there's an issue, please talk to me about it. But like, I'm trying, and just kind of continually share that and be open, I think helps a lot. Of course, it's frustrating for them at times, that you're not showing up, but I think being open about it as much as possible, I think helps everybody.
Yeah. It's like whenever you talk to someone and you see like, they're just a human being doing their best. And like most of the time when we're offended by something or we don't like something someone did, like we don't know the whole story. Right. And I think sharing, maybe not the whole story because we don't want to share every detail of our health journey, but sharing the honest truth that is appropriate or necessary for that situation, that's going to make the big difference. Right.
Yeah. It made me more human as a manager too. Right. Because like they saw me as someone that has my own challenges. And also I learned a lot about things other people were dealing with by sharing my story. And that's probably been the most interesting thing, in how many other people really are sick, and have the stuff going on, and being able to share that. I mean, that's an amazing experience to be able to like help other people as well.
Oh, I'm sure. And like, there are so many people who have illnesses and pains. And I think it's way more common than people talk about, but also other people have emotional pains and things they're going through. Like, I have just never met someone that I've actually gotten to know who doesn't have something major going on in their lives. And I think you're totally right that like sharing your story, it opens the door for other people to share theirs, or maybe they don't share their story, but I guarantee there's so many people who have heard your story or have talked to you, and maybe they didn't share anything, but they are going through something and thinking, wow, I'm so grateful that she has shared this. It makes me feel like I'm normal. Like, my life is really hard. I have stuff going on for me. I don't do things perfect. I can't always show up right for whatever reason, whether it's illness or something else.
Yeah.
I think we all have stuff.
Absolutely. I think everyone has stuff. We're all human at the end of the day, and we're all just trying to make it through day by day. And I think trying to just be open about it, I think, has helpful.
Let's take a minute to talk about the sponsor of today's episode, Let's Get Checked. Let's Get Checked is a worldwide leader in at-home health tests that puts you in control of your healthcare. With Let's Get Checked, you don't even have to leave the comfort of your home. You don't have to go to a lab to get your blood drawn. It's very convenient. You can order a testing kit that will be delivered to you in discreet packaging. Once your sample arrives in the laboratory, confidential results will be available from your secure online account within 2 to 5 days. Let's Get Checked laboratories are CLIA approved and CAP accredited, which are the highest ranking levels of accreditation. Your results are reviewed by Let's Get Checked's clinical team, and you'll have the option for a virtual consultation to discuss your results. In some cases, the clinical team can prescribe a medication that can be sent to your pharmacy of choice. I've tried out Let's Get Checked a few times now, and it's been so helpful in finding some help that I needed. I was going through a period where I had very limited energy. My fatigue seemed at its worst, and I was easily able to get my thyroid checked. And as someone who has young kids, very difficult to leave the house, it was so convenient to be able to take my blood test at home, send it in the mail, and have my results within a few days. Get easy to understand and actionable health insights in 2 to 5 days from the comfort of your own home. Visit trylgc.com/Aimee, that's AIMEE, to get 25% off your at-home test kit today. Everything you need is linked in the podcast show notes or in the description on the YouTube version of this podcast. Thanks again to Let's Get Checked for sponsoring this video. I am a big fan of them, and let's get back to the episode. Do you believe that things will get better? Like, your health will get better, you'll be able to work more?
I'm hopeful. I try to keep the hope, like that, as I continue down this path and learning new things about my illness that, I will find a path to be healthier. And I don't know what that will look like. Like, it will never be what it was. I think I've long accepted that's a past. It's a younger version of myself as well. And it's a past person. And I'm growing a lot as a person. Like, I just won't be that anymore. It will never put my health on the back burner, which I did. And so I will always try to manage that going forward. But yes, I'm hopeful, and I'm trying to be as open as I can to other medicine, traditional and non-traditional, such as acupuncture and other things, just as ways to continue to manage it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's hard to not get too overwhelmed, right? Sometimes I get so many suggestions, especially because I put my health online.
And all about it.
And I love it. And I'm like, I'm so grateful people are sharing, but also it's overwhelming when I've tried 200 things, they haven't worked yet. I've spent a lot of money, a lot of energy on things. So yeah, it gets so expensive. Yeah, because things like acupuncture, that's on my list. But I'm like, okay, that's expensive. Do I do that before I try this other therapy, or do I try this first? Do I, try changing my diet? Like, it's just so hard. And it's easy to get stressed out and frustrated and want to give up when something doesn't work, or when you're not getting better, or when it feels like this is just my life for the rest of time. And then on the opposite end, some people will say oh, it's not normal to be that sick. You should try more things. It's hard to not get overwhelmed on one side or the other, right?
I have a basket of medicine, literally a basket. It's like a joke in our family of you have a basket of meds. And I was like, unfortunately, I will probably always have a basket. I kind of had to accept, and I'm sure you did as well, there's just some medicine I will probably always be on for the rest of my life. It sucks, but it's the reality. And it's just, you have to just kind of accept that at some point.
Yeah, no, it's true. And then you have your basket of supplements, and then you have your basket of things you've tried that maybe you can't visually see, but
oh god,
it's
I have my injections. Then I have my injections too, so that too. It's geez, never ending. And then a new doctor, your doctor gives you other things to try. And it's okay, now I have 3 more pills to try. Cool.
Yeah. So how do you keep that hope? How does that hope stay when you try stuff and it doesn't work, or when people say things, or you feel crappy?
I mean, everyone has an opinion, right? Yeah. Including my own family. They'll have opinions. Oh, you're fine. Just, go work out more or do this more. If I do that, I'm completely exhausted and dead. It's just not a option. You're up against, chronic stuff. You can push something too hard and actually be worse. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah.
So I just try to, try to be humorous about it. Try to, find humor and stuff, laugh. And just kind of understand that something that doesn't work for me might work for somebody else. And you just, okay, yeah, check that off the list. What's next? Right. And there's just a world out there of options. And eventually I know I'll find the right one. And it may be the right one for a period of time. And that could change, our bodies change. But I know it'll be a continued journey, and just try to be open.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. I like to, think of it like a journey, not a destination. It's ongoing, and it's not like this. Sometimes you hear stories of someone, they just did this thing and boom, they were healed, and that's great. We're so happy for them. But also most of the time, when you have a long-term illness, a chronic illness, it is ups and down. And my favorite saying is, healing is not linear. It's not just continually getting better. It's going to go up and down. And even if I have something that works, it might only work for a little bit of time. And I like to believe that I'm going to find the solutions when it's the right time, which means if it's not my budget right now, and maybe maybe acupuncture would help me, for example, but it's not my budget right now. I'm just I'm going to believe that by the time I can afford acupuncture, if it's the right thing for me, it will come to my life when it's supposed to, because maybe there's something I need to learn right now before then, or I'll find something else that will help because I didn't have that in the budget. And it, I think we can believe whatever we want. We can believe that life sucks and it's never going to get better. We can believe that
we have our days where we do that. Come on, have a day where you cry. I mean, you sit there and you cry or just like facts, I want to be normal, but yeah.
Right. Yes. We have moments, of course, of that. Again, it's not linear. Even like, our brains are not linear. Our healing journey with our brains and how we think is not linear. I have days where I'm all on the ball and I go to my coaching sessions with my clients and I'm like, I got all the answers for you. And then I'm like, I'm telling you this stuff and I suck at it. I'm not doing it. I'm in my head. I'm complaining all the time. And of course, that's going to happen. But if overall we're, when we're in our logical brain, we're in the times where we're wanting to change and become better, we're thinking that we will find what we need when we need it. I think it's just going to be a way better path than just telling ourselves like we have to find it right now. Then we, at least what I did at the beginning is I tried everything, spent all the money, spent all the time.
I was going to say that. Yeah. In the beginning, you're like, give me everything. Like I want it all. But then you also do too many things and you don't know what's working. Right.
Exactly.
Because your doctor gives you stuff and then you're like Googling and like, whatever. And like buying other stuff on your own and adding that in and you have no idea what's working. And I think once you kind of go through that, like you said, it's not linear. You kind of pull back and you're like, hey, I just have to try everything at a time and it will happen when it's right for me. And I'm a big believer of that as well, that it's, a journey and the right solution will come along at the time when it's supposed to for me.
So when it comes to working with chronic illness, do you have any advice for people who want to work or who need to work?
Yeah, I was going to say, so I was thinking about this question, that I think if you're looking at a specific company, I would dig into the culture of that company, understand how they define success. And then don't be afraid to interview the people interviewing you. You need to look for the right place that's for you. And look for someone that you feel will support you and that company's culture will support you in your journey. And maybe look for something where you start part-time and ramp up. You don't have to go full on instantly. So don't just take a job for a job. Like find something where you feel like you're going to fit.
Totally. I think I always did that. Even before I was sick, I just like, oh, it's a job. I can make money with it. And I think the money was the important part. And then it's like, if I am miserable in it and I can't find a way to find joy in it, like, why am I doing this? And if it's, making you more sick or, like I went to school for 4 years and then I taught high school math for like 6 months and then I quit. And I felt like the biggest failure because I had gone to school for it. I'd paid all this money for it. I'd done all these things. And I thought like, it's over. Like I can't do anything. And then I did find that I could tutor. And so it was like, because I had a degree, because I actually even had a little bit of experience, all I had to say was I was a former high school math teacher. And now people will hire me as their tutor. I didn't even need to have years and years of experience. And so it turned out great. But I think it's hard not to feel like, oh, if this job doesn't work out, nothing's going to work out or was the dream job. So this is what I still need to do, even if it makes me ill.
Yeah. Did you leave because you were sick?
Uh-huh.
On the math? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Hard decision?
It was, and I went way longer than I should have. I actually was student teaching the first part of the year. So I did end up technically teaching for almost the full year, but I was the actual teacher being paid for about 6 months. And I had 1 month left in the school year, and my husband had been pushing me to quit, but I was like, we can't afford this. He was still in school. He wasn't making hardly anything. And it was so crazy because the week that I quit my job, his boss came to him and said, next week, I want you to start full time and get on salary, and we're going to pay for your school. Like everything that we could have ever like needed. It was just such a huge blessing. And it was the week that I quit my job that he ended up getting hired full time, got his school paid for, everything. And it was awful because he was working 9-hour days and then doing school every night. Like it was hard for the next 2 years while he did all that. And I was just at home being lazy. Just kidding. I wasn't lazy, but I thought I was lazy at the time. But like it worked out exactly as it was supposed to. So it's like, I can see evidence where that's happened in my life, where like it did work out, even though in my head it was like, how can this be the right path to be newly married and having to quit my job right after I graduated school. And you know, life doesn't go the way you think it should. It never does.
No, and anytime I've pushed it, it's always been wrong.
Yeah.
So I think being open to that, like, had it happen, it's always the right thing. And pushing it's never worked.
Right. When I push myself to work because I think I have to work, there's no other options, then like I got to the worst I'd ever been. And I was just miserable and I wasn't showing up good for my students. And it's like, why am I even here if I'm not doing my job well? Because I can't, because I'm pushing myself too hard. When quitting and tutoring was great. I was able to help so many students who, you know, hated math and hated school. And I was like, I helped them to graduate and to maybe not enjoy it, but hopefully a little bit, and at least like make some progress. And I could see that. And it was amazing, but I wouldn't have ever even known that was an option. Right?
Yeah.
So do you have any job ideas for anyone who lives chronically ill, or like things to look for in a job?
Yeah, it's kind of what I was saying, dig into the company culture. I think, you know, really being open with what you think you can do and want to do, right? Like where you're at in your journey. I mean, when I think back to how I was in the beginning, you know, my skin looks horrible. I was really sick. I mean, it's just funny to think about where your journey was, I mean, where it started. I mean, outwardly, I was sick. I mean, that's when you know you're really sick, right? And really being at, you know, where you're at in your journey, be open with yourself, I think. And if you think the only thing you can do is tutor, start there. It's okay, you know, start, you know, somewhere, and give yourself the flexibility. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, let me try something else. Maybe don't go into the craziest industry like I did, where it's just super tech and fast moving and they expect you to go super fast, and probably not best option, but where I was. But
yeah, I think you need to look at like your day, like what can you handle, and being completely honest with yourself, because I think there's sometimes where I'm like, I can't do anything. It's like, no, I can. Like people even ask me, how do I coach? How do I make videos and stuff? And I'm like, well, I just don't overbook myself with my clients. And I've decided 45 minutes is a great time where it's a little bit challenging for me sometimes, but it's not so much that I can't do it. When I did hour-long sessions, it was like I felt like I wasn't showing up at my best by that last 15 minutes. So 45 is the perfect time limit for me. And if I'm feeling ill, I'll still show up for my client if they have scheduled an appointment with me and paid me. And so that's actually easier for me than if I had a job where I just show up and if I feel good, I can do it. If I don't feel good, I won't do it. Then I probably won't do it. But like, actually, I like being scheduled. And so it's like being totally honest with yourself and like what will get me to do the work that I need to do or want to do. And like, what can I handle that will be worth it, right? Because there's a certain point where maybe you want to make a certain amount of money and it's worth it to push yourself past maybe your physical, I'm sure.
I know.
Yeah. You've never pushed yourself past.
No, not at all. I was thinking about that too. And like the competitiveness, like with my colleagues and kind of really being frustrated, especially when I first got sick of, you know, unfortunately I work at SNHU where it's super competitive and everyone thinks you're okay, you know, but you're hiding that you're not and pretending you are. And all of a sudden you can't do the things you used to be able to do. And just the competitiveness, you're pushing yourself. I mean, I made myself sicker, definitely. Which is sad to look back on, but also I think it was part of the journey. So
yeah, it helped you figure out what works for you now, right?
Yeah.
And if a job doesn't work out, like if it is the wrong path, like teaching school, standing all day, not the right path for me, but it helped me see that like, okay, I can push through. I can do really hard things and I can still do something. But what is worth it? What do I enjoy? And at what point is it no longer going to be worth it, no matter the money? Like in some ways, I'm like, would I do anything if someone gave me $1 million? Probably. But then there's going to be a point where I'm like, this isn't worth it, no matter how much money you're willing to pay me. Right. That's so good.
I passed up promotions. right? Just like I'm not ready to get there. Can't push myself to that level.
Yeah, which is so hard.
Yeah.
And takes a lot of, I think, practice and mental energy to say no to things like that.
But I knew that it was going to push me back to where I didn't want to go, right? And that's always my fear. And I think you can probably relate to that, is my fear with being chronically ill is going back. That's like my number one fear. Like I've gotten to the point where I'm at. Yeah, it has its own challenge, but going back is like really scary, right? And so when you feel yourself moving that direction, you just like, you do everything in your power to stop that. Because it's
what it felt like to be in that place, and we don't want to go back there. And I think it's hard sometimes not look at those moments and be like, that was terrible. Why did I have to go through that? But now it's like, you can see your breaking point. You can see where things are too much. So now you've learned from that. Now, how can we use that as we go forward? And like you're using it, okay, I can't accept that promotion because I know that even if I want it so badly, there's something I want more, which is not to be in that place again.
No, I want to be healthy. I want to be able to get out of bed every day. I mean, I don't know what it would feel like to want to get out of bed every day and, feel like you're not exhausted. I mean, that's like a dream, but I want to get to that spot. And so I'm hopeful.
Yeah. And you know that promotion's unfortunately not going to get you there.
No, stress will regress me always. So
yeah, I think stress it's hard on everyone. I mean, how many podcasts and videos are there out there about like, oh, you need to de-stress? Like we know, but man, it's hard.
Well, you're going to take away the family, the kids, take care of me, I mean, it's hard.
Well, that was very helpful. And I think it feels like working is out of reach for a lot of people who live ill.
Yeah.
And working full-time may not be for a lot of chronically ill people, but I think there's always options and there's always something that we can do, whether it's you start your own business, you do from home, or you work part-time for someone, or you work in a place that is more accommodating to you. Like there's going to be options. And I think you are an inspiration to so many people who feel like they have to work.
Only other thing actually I was going to say is for people to celebrate their successes. Like you found that you could do tutoring and that was good. I mean, celebrate that you found that and kind of keep going on that as a way to continue to find, the next path. But we all can do something and celebrate that as much as possible.
Yeah, 100%. And if we celebrate that, it's going to give us confidence to keep going instead of the frustrations to want to stop and give up. Because like you mentioned, we all want to give up sometimes, but we got to keep going. Yes. So thank you so much for being here. I think your story is so helpful for so many people. Hey friend, do you find value in this podcast but want to take it to the next level? Work with me one-on-one or check out Chronically Me, the course and workbook. This course takes the things you are learning on the podcast and helps you apply them directly to your life. This course dives deeper into changing your thinking, teaching you how the brain works and how to maximize your life with chronic illness. I designed this course as a companion to the podcast. The podcast gives specific, real-world examples, and the course helps you put them into action. If you want personalized one-on-one help from me, I got you. I also offer individual coaching programs where we can talk about the problems you are facing. I'll help you manage your brain and find solutions to nearly every problem that you have. We will walk hand in hand on this journey together. Check the show notes or the video description on YouTube for more information on getting extra help from me. Talk to you soon.